President Yoon Suk-yeol attended the fifth hearing of his impeachment trial today at the Constitutional Court. He denied allegations that he had ordered military commanders to pull lawmakers out of the National Assembly to prevent them from voting down his martial law decree, while a former Capitol Defense Command commander also denied such orders were given as he took the stand. OpenAI founder Sam Altman visits South Korea to expand AI collaboration amid a fierce global AI race. He held a series of meetings today with business moguls, one of which involved Samsung chairman Lee Jae-yoon and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son. With a 10% tariff on Chinese imports into the U.S. taking effect, China hits back with targeted tariffs on U.S. goods. This follows President Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico on pause for 1 month. It's February 4th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start today at the Constitutional Court, where the fifth hearing of the impeachment trial against President Yoon began this afternoon. For more, our correspondent Oh Soo-young is standing by live. Soo-young, today's hearings is still ongoing and it includes a lineup of key witnesses, and eyes are now on what they said.
Good evening, Jong-min. Yes, indeed. The fifth impeachment trial hearing for President Yoon, it began at around 2 p.m. today with the president in attendance and 3 testimonies at 90 minutes each. Now, the 3 witnesses who were called in by the court today, they include figures who were involved in the execution of martial law on December 3rd. And based on their previous statements, the focus of the questions today is very much on whether they were ordered to first break into the National Assembly, prevent a parliamentary vote to revoke martial law, and also to arrest key political figures. Now, first up was Lee Jin-woo, former commander of the military's Capitol Defense Command, who is currently under arrest. Lee has reportedly said he would receive phone calls from Yoon to enter the National Assembly by force, firing weapons if necessary, and drag out legislators to stop them from overturning martial law. However, when he showed up at the court today, he denied that he'd been ordered by Yoon to arrest lawmakers. He also said he was not ordered by former Defense Minister Kim Jong-un to enter the Assembly building and prevent a vote to lift martial law. He refused to confirm or answer most questions posed by the National Assembly side about whether he had received calls or orders from President Yoon, despite the record showing investigation records showing that he stated Yoon called him 3 times. Former Chief of the Defense Counterintelligence Command Arirang also testified while under arrest. He reportedly received orders to arrest and detain key figures, including opposition leader Lee Jae-myung and former ruling party leader Han Dong-un. But he avoided answering key questions at the questioning today, citing his ongoing legal case. The questioning of former Deputy Director of the National Intelligence Service, Hong Jang-won, also began. He reiterated what he'd previously stated at the National Assembly, saying that he'd been ordered to, quote, clear out completely, but wasn't sure who or what the target was.
It seems the questioning session had some twists and turns, with President Yoon commenting as well.
That's right, Tommy. There were clear discrepancies in some cases, in some testimonies with what had been said previously in previous statements, showing the real need for the justices to verify some primary questions, which include, of course, whether President Yoon had directly issued orders on the night of the martial law decree. And as for the president, he spent most of the trial with his eyes closed. The court banned him from questioning witnesses today, so he was unable to address his former officials himself, as he did with the former defense minister. But when given the chance to speak, Yoon showed cynicism with the questioning, emphasizing that, quote, nothing had actually happened, and that discussing whether instructions were given or received seemed rather pointless to him.
이번 그 사건을 보면은 실제 아무런 일도 일어나지 않았는데 뭐 지시를 했니, 지시를 받았니, 뭐 이런 얘기들이 마치 그 어떤 호수 위에 떠 있는 무슨 달 그림자 같은 거를 쫓아가는 그런 느낌을 좀 많이 받았고요.
He once again cast doubt over allegations that he'd ordered lawmakers to be dragged out of the National Assembly and for political figures to be detained. He said he'd ordered troops to be pulled out and that soldiers deployed that evening must have misinterpreted directions from him and the defense minister.
그런 상황에서 과연 처음에 14명, 나중에 이제 군 철수 지시하고 계엄 해제 나고 군 철수 지시가 이루어졌는데 그게 과연 상식적으로 가능한 얘기인지.
But he also said he told the former defense minister to send troops to the National Election Commission, once again raising suspicions of election fraud as a pretext for declaring martial law. During his previous hearings, the president has denied the major allegations that he'd ordered martial law decrees to be executed that night.
So-young, it may be tough to tell, but when can we expect an actual verdict?
Well, for now, there are 3 more trial hearings scheduled until February 13. That's next Thursday. But it's unclear at this point whether the justices will be able to wrap up the case by then or whether they'll decide to summon more witnesses to really cross-check and verify the facts. And while the conflicting testimonies may require more witnesses to confirm whether Yoon directly issued martial law orders, also whether the decrees were unconstitutional, and whether he had pre-planned the martial law. Yoon's team has applied for at least 31 witnesses, and the court is apparently still reviewing the candidates. Also, as Yoon's representatives continue to fiercely challenge the court's proceedings, experts say that the trial could be lengthened substantially. However, most believe the ruling will be made before 2 justices retire from the bench on April 18th to avoid further procedural delays and complications.
All right, So-young, thanks for the coverage. That was our Oh So-young with the latest on the president's impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court. Meanwhile, former Army Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jong-un today reaffirmed that he was ordered by President Yoon to drag lawmakers out from the National Assembly when martial law was imposed on December 3rd. At a hearing on Tuesday of an Assembly Special Committee investigating the Yoon administration's alleged insurrection plan, Kwak testified that at the time, no troop members were inside the building. His claim contradicts that of former Defense Minister Kim Jong-un at a Constitutional Court hearing that Yoon ordered members of the military, not members of the Assembly, to be removed. Kwak will testify at the Constitutional Court's 6th hearing on Thursday. At the Seoul Detention Center earlier this afternoon, people backing the president gathered outside the center, braving the day's frigid conditions to share their moral support. Our Choi Min-jung was there.
A freezing cold Tuesday. Despite the bitterly cold weather, dozens of President Yoon Suk-yeol's supporters gathered at the Seoul Detention Center to cheer for Yoon, with the president heading to the Constitutional Court for the 5th hearing of his impeachment trial. Supporters sang and chanted loudly, banging on drums. One supporter attempted to enter the detention center but was stopped by police. There was also a small number of people protesting in favor of Yoon's impeachment. The police has deployed heavy security and buses on site to prevent any potential physical clashes between those for and against the impeachment. On Wednesday, officials from the National Assembly's Special Committee on the Insurrection Investigation are scheduled to visit the detention center to question Yoon in person, as he has refused to attend previous committee hearings. But it remains to be seen whether Yoon will comply with the investigation. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
OpenAI founder Sam Altman is here in Seoul for a number of events and meetings aimed at advancing AI collaboration. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin covers his agenda here.
ChatGPT developer OpenAI is looking to expand its presence in the South Korean market as Chinese startup DeepSeek poses a challenge to its position in the tech industry. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, during a closed-door workshop held in Seoul on Tuesday, said that with its robust semiconductor and energy industries, Korea is a country that is actively adopting artificial intelligence. This marks Altman's third visit to South Korea and the first time an official OpenAI event took place in the country. As part of its efforts to stay competitive, OpenAI announced that it has entered into a joint strategic partnership with South Korea's leading messaging app operator, Kakao.
I think we have a shared vision for what AI can do. We are particularly interested in AI and messaging. I think there's a really rich thing to explore there that can improve the experience a lot for users.
Kakao CEO Chung Shin-ah said on Tuesday that upcoming key Kakao services such as Karana, an AI-integrated messenger app, will utilize OpenAI's latest AI technology APIs, application programming interfaces that allow developers to integrate OpenAI's language models such as ChatGPT into their own apps. But Kakao isn't the only Korean company OpenAI is planning to work more closely with, as Altman also met with SK Group chairman Choi Tae-won immediately after the workshop on Tuesday. Choi and Altman reportedly discussed potential areas of collaboration between OpenAI and SK Group, such as the supply of high-bandwidth memory from SK Hynix and the construction of an AI data center by SK Telecom. And in the afternoon, Altman met with Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, who flew in from Japan in the morning to attend the meeting, which lasted for 2 hours. This comes after SoftBank and OpenAI on Monday agreed to set up a joint venture in Japan, with SoftBank also committing to investing $3 billion annually to utilize OpenAI's technology. The three discussed ways to expand AI collaboration, namely Samsung Electronics' potential participation in the Stargate project, a $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative supported by U.S. President Donald Trump. 이수진, Arirang News.
U.S. tariffs on Canada and Mexico have been delayed for 30 days, but the additional 10% tax on Chinese imports have been put in place. China responded with retaliatory tariffs. An Sung-jin reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump's 10% tariff on Chinese products took effect just after midnight Tuesday. This means that all Chinese goods going into the country will be levied under the trade measures. China immediately hit back with retaliatory taxes of its own. The country's Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council announced that certain U.S. products, such as petroleum or agricultural machinery, will have a 10% tariff, while coal and LNG will be levied 15%, starting on the 10th. This comes as Trump stated that he will be talking with China on deals regarding stopping the flow of fentanyl in the Panama Canal. However, whether Trump will strike a deal with China remains unclear, as Beijing's ambassador to the United Nations, Fu Chang, reaffirmed the country's position during a press conference at the UN headquarters early Tuesday, stating that China will file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization and implement countermeasures regarding Trump's tariffs. Unlike China, less than a day ahead of Trump's imposition of 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, the tariffs have been postponed for at least a month. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Monday local time posted on X that he had a good call with President Trump, signaling that a deal has been struck. The deal includes implementing a $1.3 billion border plan, which includes reinforcing the border with nearly 10,000 frontline personnel, as well as strengthening resources to respond to fentanyl and money laundering. The agreement with Canada comes only hours after Trump announced a similar deal with Mexico. Just a day before U.S. tariffs were to take place, Mexico agreed to also place 10,000 National Guard troops along the U.S. border to prevent the flow of drugs.
I told him we wanted him to pause the tariffs, so we've reached that agreement. I'm sure that during this month, we'll be able to deliver good results for his people and the people of Mexico.
Over the next month, the U.S. and Mexico will be negotiating on trade and security issues before a final decision on whether to implement full tariffs. Concerns over a global tariff war sparked by Trump are still high, as he also warned of tariffs to the European Union.
When targeted, unfairly or arbitrarily, the European Union will respond firmly.
Whether these trial periods for Canada and Mexico will lead to successful tariff deals is unclear. Negotiations could see the U.S. adding on trade issues, and concrete results may not appear regarding drug trafficking or illegal immigration issues. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has recently shown his intention to engage in talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. But this gesture looks to be met by Kim maintaining a hardline approach. Today, we take a closer look at another possible dialogue between these two men. Our correspondent Kim Bo-kyung joins us here in the studio. Bo-kyung, North Korea's first response towards the Trump administration was not that friendly. Tell us more about that and what is Pyongyang thinking?
All right, Jung-min. Well, as you have already said, North Korea recently released its first official criticism of Trump administration, condemning the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, calling it a rogue state while he was having an interview with a journalist. And regarding this, the regime's foreign ministry spokesperson said on Monday that Rubio's remarks reaffirm how Washington's hostile policy toward the North remains unchanged, and that the regime will not tolerate any provocation by the U.S. This comes after Trump said late last month that he planned to engage with Kim.
He happens to be a smart guy. Kim Jong-un is a smart guy.
Well, this raised the prospects of a potential dialogue between Trump and Kim. And instead of responding to this, however, Pyongyang is sending a message to Washington via its foreign ministry, which said that if there was no change in words or actions from the U.S. regarding its hostile policy, then the North would continue its hardline approach, and also with Kim visiting a nuclear material production base. And one expert says Pyongyang wants preconditions to be met for a dialogue to resume.
Pyongyang is demanding the U.S. to respect its sovereignty, not to interfere in its internal affairs, and to suspend South Korea-U.S. joint military exercise.
If this dialogue does happen, what are the chances of Trump going for the so-called small deal?
Well, to answer that question, Jung-min, we first need to talk about what exactly a small deal is. A small deal is an initial or intermediate step toward the ultimate goal of complete denuclearization. However, for now, a big deal is unfeasible at the moment, with even officials and experts being pessimistic about it. And thus, the small deal is deemed a more pragmatic approach, primarily focusing on reducing the nuclear and missile threat North Korea poses to the U.S., such as with a nuclear freeze and halt to weapons tests, particularly ICBMs. Trump would want to see some achievement within his term, so he will likely go for this first. And experts say if it is such a small deal, it would be a big achievement.
If the small deal goes well and mutual trust is built, it can serve as a foundation for the next step, ultimately leading to complete denuclearization. However, the current level of distrust between North Korea and the U.S. is so deep that even achieving a small deal would be considered a significant success.
Well, one thing we need to note is that while the U.S. aims to manage North Korea's nuclear threats through a disarmament deal instead of complete denuclearization, there is the possibility the U.S. might suspend joint military exercises with South Korea.
In the past, a moratorium was implemented with Pyongyang agreeing to suspend nuclear tests and ICBM launches, while Washington scaled down South Korea-US joint military exercises and stopped the deployment of strategic assets to the Korean peninsula. Trump could consider such similar measures again.
If the two men, Kim and Trump, do start such negotiations, some express concerns that South Korea could be left out.
Right. Given that North Korean leader is sending messages to Trump, hinting at preconditions for the talks to resume, we cannot be sure when they will meet, but we can be sure about the possibility of the dialogue to begin soon. Now, considering the political turmoil South Korea is dealing with, we cannot say Seoul's preparations for a potential Kim-Trump summit are enough. Experts say, however, the U.S. would not be able to just leave out its allies' say regarding the issue.
There will be sufficient discussions between Seoul and Washington over the agenda, location and timing of the talks before Washington starts contacting Pyongyang. Also, the US will try to persuade North Korea to engage in inter-Korean dialogue, either before the North Korea-US talks or concurrently with them.
All right, thank you, Bo-kyung, for the explanation.
My pleasure.
On the cultural front, there's exciting news, especially for musical lovers. One of Korea's longest-running and most beloved homegrown musicals is back on stage in downtown Seoul. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin gives us a closer look.
It's one of the most iconic lines in Korean musical history, bringing the final moment of Queen Min to life on stage. The Last Empress tells the story of Queen Min, also known as Empress Myeongseong, the wife of Gojong, the 26th king of the Joseon dynasty and the first emperor of the short-lived Korean Empire. She was assassinated in 1895 by Japanese forces who saw her as a threat to their growing influence in Korea. This homegrown musical premiered in 1995, exactly a century after her death.
When I was creating this production, I was searching for a story that could teach history while also being moving and entertaining. Later, when we took the production abroad, people were amazed that we had transformed such a painful chapter of our history into art.
Over the past 30 years, The Last Empress has earned its reputation as a living legend of Korean musicals. It was the first Asian musical to be staged on Broadway and the West End. Even in its 22nd season now, the production continues to evolve.
The show was mostly sung through, but we've gradually incorporated more spoken dialogue to enhance storytelling. We've also revived key musical numbers and restructured some scenes to make historical events and information clearer for audiences.
This season boasts its most star-studded lineup to date. Renowned musical actresses Kim So-hyun, Shin Young-suk, and Cha Ji-yeon take turns portraying Queen Min. The cast includes both returning veterans and fresh faces, bringing new energy to the production.
I think this musical stays alive because it never settles, always pushing forward. Being part of it pushes me too. Just when I think I've given my all, I discover new emotions, new ways to interpret the role. That's the beauty of the show. It grows with time, just like we do.
Even before I entered musical theater, I knew The Last Empress was legendary, as even my mother had seen it before. It's also one of the few historical musicals in Korea. Now, being part of it, I realize just how special and timeless this production is. It's an honor to carry on its legacy.
And the show isn't resting on its legacy, setting its sights on a future spanning over a century. That effort continues live on stage, night after night. So the current season of the musical The Last Empress is on stage at the Sejong Center for the Performing Arts' Sejong Grand Theater until March 30th. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
There's a strong cold spell all over the country.
Cold wave warnings and advisories are in effect in most parts of the country with freezing conditions. The coldest place this morning was mountain Seorak, where temperatures plummeted to nearly minus 23 degrees Celsius. This cold spell will be seen tomorrow as well. As the heavy snow warnings continue to expand, snow will become thicker on the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province. Heavy snow of as much as 40 centimeters will fall in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island and more than 30 centimeters in Jeollabuk-do province by Thursday. Tomorrow morning's Seoul will be as cold as today, dropping to minus 12 degrees Celsius. Daegu and Gyeongju minus 9 degrees. Seoul will move up to minus 5 degrees, and Gwangju will move up to minus 1 degree. This cold spell will continue throughout the week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.